Real people having real conversations. Let's go beyond the surface and find the pieces of the past that make people who they truly are. This is the Blueprint Banter. Welcome to the show. So we're here with Craig Hunt today on the Blueprint Banter podcast. Before we really get rolling, though, I want to make sure that everybody understands what this is all about. Craig, this isn't you and I sitting here preaching like we know everything, like we're perfect, right? What the Blueprint Banter is all about is having conversations with real people that other people can actually connect to. Somebody might hear something in this podcast that is sitting there wondering, like, hey, I'm kind of feeling stuck in my life. Something's going on. And these guys figured some things out to get some traction, to get some momentum going, right? So that's what the Blueprint Banter is all about. This isn't us trying to sit here and preach. We think we're awesome. We're the super successful people that you need to listen to us. And we have the blueprint to this is, what you need and buy our book or whatever, right? This is just, we're normal ass people, Craig. Like we've done normal things that we don't think we have any more talent than anybody else has. But with a little motivation, the right mindset, and the right people around you, we think anybody can do great things. So that's why we're here today. We're just here to learn from Craig's experiences. He's got many of them. He's done some really awesome things. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, Mr. Craig Hunt, how's it going, man?
Thank you. It's going good. It's going good.
Let's just start out by talking about what businesses you have going on right now. And with a name, by the way, for everybody listening or watching this, Craig's not only my barber, but he's a connector, he's a motivator, he's a mentor. He is AKA the landlord. This guy owns real estate, his own businesses. He's done many things. So just give us a glimpse into kind of your current role before we get into the history of how you got there. But just what you have going on right now and what your day-to-day sort of looks like.
My current role is barber by trade, but my biggest baby is Universal Barbershop. I manage that with 15 barbers. My wife is the co-owner. We also own Salon Z next door to Universal Barbershop. We have another barbershop in Ankeny. It's called the Headquarters Barbershop Lounge. That's mainly our daily businesses that we run. Um, it's a environment where I'm kind of just like managing people, managing young men, a lot of young men. I also have a barber apprenticeship program at the barbershop. I call it Universal University.
Love that.
We have a couple apprentices at our shop now that we're training, just trying to get them in the field and get them going in the right direction.
Do you think it's fair to say that most barbers that get into the trade are, um, maybe just looking to make a buck or, just trying to make some money and they think, hey, I can get into this. I feel like you've created a way, especially for the young men that are in your shop and young women as well, that it can be more than that. Like it can be more than just a few bucks right now. It can be a career. It can be a thing, right? Can you get us into that headspace a little bit of just how you kind of shifted that or like molded that idea?
Yeah, so like, I think I probably was in that same mode at the very beginning. When I thought about being a barber, I first went to barber school in 1997. I was thinking, oh, it's a quick buck,
Yeah.
it's $20 a head. I can do $20 a head and just make cash every day. And that was my mindset. And then I kind of got away from it. And then I ended up coming back to it almost over a decade later. And redoing it. And I was at that point, I think my mindset was like, I was saying like, okay, it's kind of like I can have the barbershop. And I was thinking more in terms of real estate. I was thinking more in terms of collecting rent at the time.
Yeah. Mailbox
Yeah,
money.
mailbox money.
Yeah.
Like I'm renting a barber suite. I'm collecting $800 a month, $700 a month. I was thinking in that terms, right?
Yeah.
And then when I actually got into the barbershop myself, I think more so that I started enjoying the connecting of people, being
Yeah.
able to connect with different slices of life. Um, and I think it was a little bit of my mom and me. My mom and my sister and my folks are usually like social workers, psychologists,
Okay.
so we're all people's persons. And I've been in a combination all my life of sales and people. That's been my lane. Um, so once I got into the barbershop and I just started getting, like I say, all slices of life in my chair,
Yeah.
and I'm a sponge, I
Right.
love great energy, um, and I love knowledge. So I was starting to sit individuals in my chair that were basically giving me knowledge, sharpening me, like iron sharpens iron, men
Yeah.
sharpen men,
Yeah.
and I think it had a lot to do with, at the time, my business plan and my business model was to, I did like an interview when I was in barber school. Like I interviewed like 500 people. Like, what do you like about the barbershop? Where do you get your hair cut? What do you dislike about it? And that's where I kind of came up with the universal concept and the universal plan. What I decided that, like, you know, at that time, it was kind of like your demographic cut your own demographic. Like,
Yeah.
if you went to a black barber, you went to a white barber, or you went to a
Yeah.
Hispanic barber, that's what would be in their chair usually would
That's a
be their
thing.
demographic,
That's a thing. Yeah.
So, I just think a lot of people were uncomfortable cutting different races, and I didn't want my barbershop to be like that. I didn't want to be labeled like an urban barbershop. I just wanted to be a universal barbershop, just
Right
like
on.
everybody comes in, you can build a bridge with anybody, and my targeted market, I was like, I want to target entrepreneurs. I want to target people with high energy. I want to target business owners. That was my targeted market because that's what I wanted to bring into my shop.
Yeah, I gotta, when I first, the very first time I got cut by you, I came in and I think James was a couple chairs down from you. James, if I,
Yeah,
he went on and done his own thing right now,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which awesome for him. And we'll get into a little bit of that later too, just kind of Craig's mentality on that whole deal. But he was a couple chairs down when I came in. He's like, "Man, you want a beer? You want a water? Like,
Yeah.
let's, like, what do you got?" I believe it was a weekend.
Yeah.
He's just like, "Let's make you comfortable." And I was just like, "Damn, this is cool." You walk in and I'll be honest, like I am about as white as they come. Like I walk in there and it's a bunch of black barbers and some different people and people from all different backgrounds in that shop. And immediately, like minute one, I felt at ease and comfortable. And I was like, man, this is different. And now I'm curious. Like now I want to get to know who are the humans that are cutting heads in here.
Right,
So you obviously having that mind shift, it was successful in a way that it's showing through to clients.
right.
So, but talk about that. I mean, was that tough at first? Like being like to break out of that mold of just black barbers cutting black?
It was very tough at first, just because people weren't used to it.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning, it was funny because I had two white barbers, I had a Hispanic barber, an Asian barber,
Yeah.
and I would send people to the shop because I was still like in barber school, complete my hours. I had to go back and complete my hours, and people would call me and be like, "Hey, Craig, I'm at this barber shop you sent me to, but I think I'm at the wrong shop now." you know,
Yeah.
and it was funny because I'm like, "No, you're there. You're at the right shop, probably. I gave you the right address." There's like, "Well, there's two white barbers in there," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're at the right place."
Yeah.
And it was also funny because we had this, starting out, like we created this. The group I had was very special. We were super passionate. We created this big barber boom, which we're partly responsible for a lot of the barbershops around here in Des Moines metro area, West Des Moines, Clive, areas right now.
Yeah.
A lot of those barbers stemmed from our culture.
Yeah.
Um, so we had a barber named Hair Jordan, so naturally people were thinking that that was a black dude,
Yeah.
it was a Hair
Right.
Jordan,
That's way
and
too much
you know,
swag for a white
and,
guy.
he was working super hard, creating a lot of buzz on social media, but people didn't know who he was. Everybody was just like,
Right.
man, go to this kid Hair Jordan, or go to Craig at Universal. Like we were like, it was funny because like me and this kid were like stomping every place that we could. Like I would go into like just to get some protein. I see a guy at the counter. I'm like, "Hey man, where you get your hair cut?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Why don't you come see me? Check me out. Here goes my Instagram." He's like, "Man, this is crazy. Some other tall, white, skinny kid was just in here and just gave me this card, right?" And
Hair Jordan.
I'm like, this damn Joe, you know. But like, we were like just beating every
Yeah.
place down we could, to bring that bring business and bring new people into the barbershop because at that time I felt like a lot of men were getting their hair cut by their girlfriend's sister or
Right.
their wife's aunt or somewhere
Right.
like that. It was just like they weren't going into the barbershops. They're really, it was like either you go to an urban barbershop or you go to an old man barber, which I have no knock against either one,
Yeah.
but that's kind of like where people were going, or to a salon.
And for people that don't know, like if you've never been to a barbershop, like an actual barbershop where there's multiple chairs, it's an environment. Like
Right,
it's an experience unlike just walking in, sitting in a chair, getting your trim or whatever, and getting cleaned up and leaving. It's an entire experience.
right,
And if you've never been to a true barbershop in something like Craig's created, you need to try it once.
right,
It's an
right,
experience.
right,
And maybe you have a great haircut,
right,
stylist, maybe your old barber that is just, doing a one chair deal. That's fine. But it is an experience, and for people that haven't done it, I encourage you to try it. But so go down that road a little bit though. When you're Craig, like a
yeah.
very white sounding name, and you got Hair Jordan over here, like what were the reactions of some of the people that came into the
So
shop?
like, it would be funny, like, because I focused on at the very beginning doing straight hair because I understood the demographic of Iowa. I
Right.
said, well,
Yeah.
my demographic only makes up 2% of the population. Like, I can't compete with the barbers that I already know in Des Moines. Were
Yeah.
like I almost call them like legends, like Big Rob,
Right.
Blue. Like those guys had that demographic, basically sold up as
Yeah.
far as haircut. And so I had to focus on straight hair at the very beginning, and a lot of my peers were laughing at me like, "Dang, you only can cut straight hair." I'm like, "No, I just understand the demographic of
Craig only gets the
Iowa." Yeah,
whites.
you know what
Like
I'm saying. So like, James would call me the blue collar barber,
that's
but
awesome.
I would get soccer moms coming in from Southeast Polk, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we're here for Craig," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Craig," and they're like, "You're Craig,"
Yeah.
and or somebody would come in for Jordan, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm here for Jordan," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's the tall, skinny kid over in the corner."
Right.
They're like, "I'm not getting my hair cut by him," but it was just
Yeah.
like
Cutting through those stereotypes.
yeah, cutting through, and then we had like nice guy Ian, who's crazy. He was, I call him my oldest boy. He's grew up to have it now. Has a shop across the street from our current location. So, but yeah, and he was just like this preppy kid that wear jeans every day and a white t-shirt and suspenders to work. You know what I'm saying? So then you got other different cultures. Like
Yeah.
it was unique, and a lot of people were like, he would come in and be like, "I've never seen nothing like this before,"
Yeah.
and it was good. And
Let's talk a little bit about, so you did all of that, but that stuff doesn't just happen. If someone's sitting there, maybe they have a business that they're currently like they already started and they're trying to figure out how to differentiate. They're trying to figure out how to kind of take their own path and their given market. To get to that point, you have to fucking obsess.
right,
Like you have to when you're talking about interviewing people when you're in barber school, people don't just do that. There's a lot of people that just show up, stand at their chair, and hope walk-ins come in the store. And this can be used metaphorically for whatever business it is. I mean, there's people out there doing construction that maybe they run an exterior company and they just throw, they pay some money in Google Ads and just hope business comes in their door. And if you really want to create something great, you can't just sit on your damn hands. Like that's not how you do it. So talk about like where did that mindset come from? And maybe it comes from being just broke as fuck,
right.
like before. Maybe it comes from some hardships. I don't know, but where did that mentality like come from and when did it shift?
I just feel like I came to a point where like in my life I just was just tired, and I was tired of trying to take a shortcut, just tired of BSing myself,
Yeah.
not reaching my full potential. Went through a lot of hardship in my life, and ended up finding myself, back in barber school, living in my sister's basement. Wasn't even taking showers in my sister's basement. I was going to the gym to shower,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to interrupt their family. Had my own house, but was renting it out because I couldn't pay the mortgage because I was in barber school and I was cleaning grease traps at night.
That's some David Goggins
You know what I'm
shit.
saying? Like, and I was just like determined, like horse blinders on.
Yeah.
Ran into some.
How old are you at this time?
So I probably was like 35.
Okay. That's
Or
another
30,
point I
30,
want to
30.
make just real quick is, oftentimes people think like once they get past 25, like now I'm
It's over.
stuck.
Yeah, no, you're not stuck.
Like,
Yeah,
Jesus, it's
that's
not
why I
even,
tell people all the
life's
time.
not
Like,
even close to half over
I
yet.
get I get phone calls all the time. It's a bank manager. And he's 40 years old. Man, I wanted to be a barber. Or I wanted to do this. Well, do it. Let's do
Start.
it.
Yeah.
Like why not? My wife switched careers at 35 too.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, 36. She switched careers. She
Yeah.
was in the banking and now she manages a salon and does hair and does great. So it's
Right.
never really too late. Um, so I just was tired, and I was determined, and I ran into some great people that were helping me, like Natasha at Two Rivers Bank at the time, um, and just some good energy people that kind of like helped me, held my hand, helped me get my first loan for
Yeah.
the first business and stuff like that. Kind of guided me down that path. And other than that, it was just pure determination. Like I'm making this happen. Like a lot of my family, my sister was like, "You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're gonna open a barbershop while you're in school. It's not probably gonna work. All these businesses fail because most of my family works 9 to 5." Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, the people that care the most about you, the people that are closest to you, are typically the ones that are going to rebuttal whatever decisions that you're going to make first. Those are typically the people that'll say, "Hey, are you
Right,
sure about
right,
this?"
right, right,
I mean, I
right,
remember my future mother-in-law when I said I was going to take my first 100% commission job in the construction industry was like, "You got a son on the way.
right,
That's dumb." And
right,
it was
right.
dumb. It was crazy. She wasn't wrong,
Right.
but I just knew that like, hey, there's something different in me that I'm not going to fail.
Yeah, when you know, you know.
Yeah, you just feel it kind of,
Yeah, yeah. And I kind of felt it, and I had also did my research. And I'm one of those people that like I like to listen to my gut. Sometimes my mind will be like, "No, you're crazy. Don't do this," or somebody else will say that, and I follow my gut. My
Yeah,
gut usually when I get that real gut feeling about
yeah,
something, whether it's business, whether it's people, it's my gut rarely leads me down the wrong path.
yeah,
So I was just determined. I said, I came up with a plan how I was going to do it. I knew where I was going to target people. I started out with gyms, and the reason why I started out going to gyms is because I said, well, I went to all the higher price gyms. At that time, it was like Prairie Life Fitness, the YMCA, and Waukee. And the reason why I targeted those gyms was because I said, well, everybody here wants to
look
look
good,
good
feel good.
and feel good. They're
Yeah,
already invested in themselves, right?
yeah,
But they might not know where to get a good experience and a good haircut at. So I targeted those places, going to sweat rooms. Hey, what do you do for a living? Start conversations, just build,
yeah,
and a lot of times I would say, hey man, I'd love to provide some service to you, talk, see if we can add some value to each other's lives. Matter of fact, the first one's on me. Come check me out.
Was that easy for you, or did that come natural to just approach people out of the blue? I mean, that's
Well,
that's not easy for a lot of people, and sometimes getting over that hump to approach people is tough.
well, it actually, I wouldn't say it would have came easy for me, but I have background in sales,
Yeah,
background in talking to people, telemarketing. So
yes, you kind of leaned on
yeah,
that.
so I
Yeah,
just leaned on my experiences,
yeah,
and what's the worst thing that can happen? No,
right,
I can get a no, and I'm still trying to turn a no into a yes.
yeah,
I'm offering a free service. I know I'm going to kill the service, and I'm going to add value.
yeah,
And I knew just from my experiences with other barbers that I was going to do more than the last barber did. And I've always been a person that was going to do more than I was paid for, you
yeah,
know. And I had numerous experiences in barbershop, and I know it's just a haircut. It's
yeah.
a haircut, bam, I'm handing you some money, and I'll see you next haircut.
I can attest to that. When I first met you, became friends on Facebook, started seeing the stuff that you posted. I was like, man, there's a lot of people that think they see that shit and they're like, oh, that's just fake. Like this guy's just trying to like pump his business or whatever. And you don't know like the genuine behind it.
Right.
And it took a very short amount of time for me to see like this guy's for real.
Right.
And so I think like kudos to you first of all for, I mean, and this is years into what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I had just moved in this area. I saw you, somebody else that I knew or was mutual friends with got tagged. And we could talk a little bit more about the social media stuff down the road here. But to that point, I got in there and you clutched on the experience part, and
Right.
that's what it's all about. So but so you continue, you're kind of pumping and trying to get this business going. When did it become a deal where it's like, I need to figure out a location to get and get a real business started where I'm gonna have some chairs, bring in some people, and kind of get this thing running? Like, when did it go from just cutting heads to turning it into a legit business? Not
Um,
that just cutting hair isn't a legit business, but
yeah, I mean, at the very beginning, like, I didn't really kind of know. I hadn't really ran a business like this before. I had a little history with a used car lot, which was kind of different. Um, but I wasn't kind of like the sole guy making the decisions. I
yeah,
had a couple partners that were kind of just leading me, and I was kind of just selling cars on the lot and going to auctions, stuff like that. But so the barbershop in itself was kind of just like something totally new to me. I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? I knew I could probably manage people and lead people. But I didn't know exactly the route I was just kind of just winging it. Like I'm getting in here. So once I kind of seen like it was going in the right direction and I was like, dang, I can do this. I can do this. Opportunity came up, I had leased my first location for 5 years. We were in there only 2 years.
okay,
Um, I basically ate, slept, and did everything there. I rented the apartment above the shop, so I was just
yeah,
always there. I was married to it. I was single at the time, so um, location came up. The Whole Foods market across the street from us, like, and I knew that like we had outgrew the 1,000 square feet that we had at the very beginning. Like, I was like,
yeah,
dang, like we had in less than 2 years, we started with one barber, and then we had 10 barbers and only 8 chairs. We were
yeah.
like, we planned on started out being a 4 chair barber
Like,
shop.
this is the
You know
thing.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And now I'm adding chairs and trying to figure it out,
right.
like running out of parking and stuff like that. And Natasha, who was my business manager at the time, it was crazy how God aligned everything. I
Yeah.
believe, because I had started dating Abby, who's my wife now. We had been dating probably maybe 6 months, when this other location came up. And, I basically went home to her and I was like, golly, like they got the perfect location
Right.
for me. But at this time, I've been in business 2 years. So the bank was not going to approve me for
Credit. Years
credit.
years
Yeah.
in business.
Years in
Bankers are gonna look
business.
at you and
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah.
"Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?"
For a third of $1 million deal. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So,
Right.
like, I went to the bank, and they was like, no, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Like, so I went to went and was just kind of just voicing my frustrations, because I knew that I could make it happen if
Yeah.
I was given the opportunity.
You have the self-belief, but on paper, you don't look good yet.
Yeah, on paper
Yeah.
I didn't look good. So,
Yeah.
I had a client, Mike Wooderman, at the time, and he was also Abby's client at Two Rivers Bank. And, me and Mike had went into the ATM business together, so he kind of like knew the transactions that was coming through my business, and
Yeah.
he turned it also into being into my client. So he kind of like I always tell people like you never know who's interviewing you. So me and Mike hit it off. We were really good. Business was going
That's
good.
a good point. I don't mean to interrupt you
Yeah.
rudely, but that's a really good point. Like, you never know. At any given moment, at any given time, you could be talking to somebody that could change your life forever,
Yes, yes,
you know?
true. And you know, so I went and I was voicing my frustration to Abby, and she was like, you've built some solid relationships from what I see in the last couple of years. I think that you should probably just ask some of your people to, loan you the money.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have somebody that will loan you the money that believes in you. And I'm like, who's gonna believe in me and give me
Personal
so
financing?
so 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 like I had to like just sit down and just go through my Rolodex, right? And she was like, and then she was like, you should probably just ask Mike. He loves you. You know, he's the type of person that will bet on you. You know,
Yeah.
so I called Mike. I call him Uncle Mike. You know, and I say, Mike, let's have lunch. You know, and he says, okay, let's have lunch. I said, I got a business opportunity for you. You know, and
Yeah.
I tell him and he's like, let's be partners. He's like, because he like and now I
Like,
kind
shit, I
of
thought I was
not
going to have to work harder
yeah
for this.
like now I kind of understand it. He's been coming into my shop. We've been doing ATMs. He's been interviewing me. You know,
Yeah.
he knows. We've had a lot of intimate conversations, so he knows where I'm at. You know, he knows my operations in there daily. You know, so it was like he was like, let's be partners. Let's come up with the plan. And I'm like, well, I want to be partners, but not partners in the business. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's figure out how we can make this work. And he
Like,
was like,
specifically on the real
yeah,
estate,
yeah,
but
on the
not
real estate, not the
necessarily on the
barbershop.
barbershop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had a partner in the barbershop,
Yeah.
Katre was my partner in the barbershop, he
Sometimes
was
too
my
many hands,
manager.
things
Yeah.
can get messy,
So,
you know?
and Mike explained to me, like, it's your barbershop and real estate is two different business entities,
Yeah.
and that's what I say about mentorship. Before I would have thought, well, I opened this barbershop with my buddy who was my barber, and so everything I do is we're supposed to be business partners. Really not. That's not really
Doesn't
realistic,
have to be. Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be. And he wasn't ready at that time to be owning the building either.
Yeah.
Um, so Mike said, "Look, I love you, Craig. I like you. I believe in you. I want to make this work for you. I also am very fond of Abby. She scratched my back. I know that's your girlfriend. She brought you
Yeah.
up. Y'all introduces. I want to make a difference in you guys' life, but you guys come up with something that is a win-win situation. You know." And so basically, I came up with a resolution where we could buy the building on contract, sell point, where it was a win-win situation for everybody involved. And
That's a really good point too. To get a start is incredibly tough. It's
yeah,
incredibly tough, especially you're running a cash business at the time. And I mean, even when I got going, nobody would touch me with a loan. I had to start with the last commission check, that I had from the
right,
company I was working for, and it is tough. But if you're going to ask somebody for something like that, you have to create a value for them.
right,
Too many people just want a handout, and
right,
it like you have to create a win for the other side as well. It cannot be win lose.
right,
So
right.
that's a good point.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like I came up with a foolproof plan, one that made sense for everybody, one that was also realistic. I was moving my business over to the other building, making it a tenant. Our business, as the barbershop grew because we were able to triple our space.
Yeah.
I was also able to obtain another suite next door to the barbershop, which I already had a tenant in there. So it was a great situation.
Were there some growing pains when you first moved in there that you shifted and it's like, man, now I feel some pressure. Like I got this contract with this guy. I personally, agreed to it with him. It's my name on it. Was there any of that, or was it
It
just kind of
was
go?
it was definitely a lot of pressure. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I was a high pressure, because I got in there. I didn't have a lot of capital.
Yeah.
Spent the capital I had basically on down payment on the contract,
Which for
and
those listening means we're broke.
yeah,
We're grinding.
broke
Yeah.
week to week. It's looking good, but
Well,
I'm.
it's true. I don't want it to be oversexed. A lot of times people get to and like not to say we're successful or we think we've made it or whatever, but things are trending in the right direction. But so many people look at people in places of that stature and just think, oh man, like I wish, and they just don't understand that it sucks at times. It's not
So
easy.
like, I mean, like Derek, I know you feel me, but I
Yeah.
mean, like when I talk about pressure, I'm like, so here I am. I'm in a 5-year lease at another building. Can't get out of the lease. So I'm working with my property manager
Yeah.
Cindy and Richard, and they love me, and we're friends to
Yeah.
this day. And They said, "Well, we're gonna figure it out. We're
Yeah.
gonna work." And it's crazy because Cindy, who was my property manager, told me at the beginning, "Don't sign a 5 year lease. You probably need to sign a 2 year lease, right?" And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna be here for 5 years." You know
Right.
what I'm saying? She's like, "All right, you sure?" You
Right.
know, so and they work with me, but here I am getting into this other building. I don't even have enough capital really to basically um put the place together, get chairs, upgrade
Yeah.
it. It was a Whole Food store, so like here I am having to epoxy the floor, and I'm like, oh, this is 15 grand. Oh, like where am I getting this? So now I'm just
Yeah.
cutting to basically build the place out.
You don't get to keep any of the money you make in the beginning.
No,
Just none of it goes in
no,
Craig's pocket.
everything is just going to.
Right.
I'm waiting to pay a contractor. I'm waiting to pay a painter. I'm waiting to
Yeah.
pay somebody that's doing drywall. As soon as I make the money, I'm handing it over. Like and then next thing you know, like I'm in the building, and my barbers are like pushing me, like, let's move our stuff over there. Let's move our stuff over there. And I'm like, it's not ready yet.
Yeah.
Finally, we move our stuff over there. We roll our carts across the street because it's right across the street. We're in the building. It's halfway put together, but we're in there working. We're like, hey,
Yeah.
it's going. We're here. Um, and then next thing you know, Abby says she's pregnant.
Oh shit.
so so it's like, okay,
At
well,
one of the toughest points in
right,
your
one of the
life.
toughest
That's
points in my life,
crazy.
So I end up finally, now I'm like, okay, well, me and Abby got to make this work. We move out of her house where she was staying at and move her over to what was my older house, was my rental at the time. Um and the renter had moved out, so we moved in there, and it was on the east side. Abby, she stayed in West Des Moines her whole life, so she didn't want to move to the east side. But I'm like, listen, we got to do this to save money.
Yeah.
We're building right now. We're about to have a baby. Like, we got to,
It's
yes,
sacrifice,
we got to make
you
some
know? Yeah.
sacrifices until we can turn this corner. And it was very stressful. Very stressful at the very beginning. It's fact, it was so stressful that Abby had the baby, and a week later, I had a stroke.
Shit.
So I can say that it was very stressful on me because I was trying to manage everybody. I was trying to hire new barbers. I was trying to create enough income, to provide for my family and future baby that was coming, and it was stressful. So like I was in there a week after Abby had Kingston, and I was cutting hair, routine haircut Monday morning, and I had a stroke. You know,
Golly.
I finished the haircut. I'm left-handed. I finished the haircut with the right hand and told my barber, Travi, look, I'm not feeling well. I don't know what's going on. Like, I've lost a lot of movement on my hand. Like, I'm just going to go home for the day and cancel the rest of my schedule, or you guys can fill in. Went home, called my doctor, and he said, you had a stroke. You need to get to the hospital immediately. Don't drive. So get to the hospital. Sure enough, had a stroke. So that was scary too, like
You
very
had
scary.
you had just made an agreement to acquire a new building to move into to grow your business. You just had a newborn child and you have a stroke on top of it.
Had a stroke out of all things, like
You
the
look it up
fears,
you're
and
looking up saying, God, what else
I'm
can you
like,
test me with?
what? Yeah, I'm like, I'm scared to death now because like I'm the provider, and Abby's like, oh my God, and I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
from having this. Like I had no real movement in my left hand. So, and I was scared to tell anybody that
Yeah.
I had a stroke. Like I was just told my barbers I didn't feel good. I
Right.
was in the hospital for like 4 days.
Well, if all of a sudden
You know what
people
I'm
get
saying?
uneasy about it,
Yeah,
they
because
skate,
yeah,
like,
I didn't want nobody to get uneasy. So like,
yeah.
and I was like puzzled, like why this was happening to me. But I'm like, okay, like just we're gonna figure it out. After about a week, I decided like, okay, I can't use my left hand. My left hand is just like I'm gonna have to try to use my right hand, which
Right.
I think I leaned on my experience from playing sports.
Yeah. Right.
When you're left-handed, people always
A little
try
bit
to
of a
make you be
baller. A little bit of a
right-handed.
baller
You know what I'm
yourself. Yeah.
saying? So like,
Yeah.
I opened my schedule back up 2 weeks after having a stroke. And I went in there and I was just winged it again with my right hand though.
Right.
And looking back, my barbers will tell you like they were making fun of my haircuts. Like
Yeah.
they were bad with my right
Yeah.
hand. You
Your
know?
clients are probably like,
And I think like I leaned though like even when I couldn't cut hair, like at the very beginning, I was not a very good barber.
yeah.
I knew how to make people feel good. I knew how to
Yeah.
talk to people. I knew how to, whether it be a steam towel, whether it be shaving the back of your neck, just
Right.
or brightening up your day with conversation.
Right.
So I still was able to create a good experience, but not giving the best haircut.
Right.
But repetition. Then I started
Yeah.
my right hand. I knew. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do. I just had to do it with my right hand.
Yeah.
And it's funny now because barbers will see me and they're like, "How do you cut both handed?" And I'm
You
like,
have to, yeah, and to that point, like you have to start somewhere.
"Right, yeah,
You can't just, I mean, what are you gonna do at that point? Just fold it up? Like,
because I had to pay the bills.
yeah,
The
you know,
bills still have to be
still coming in the
paid.
mail every day.
When you're when you're the owner of a business, people don't understand sometimes. Like, yeah, we can make everything look glittery and
Right.
glossy on social media, or
Right.
but there is some real struggle behind it, and you have to build that fortitude. When you're at the very
100%.
beginning, and that's why some people do not have the fortitude for it. So it's like I tell some people, like, it's not for everybody, but it is for a lot of people if you want to be able to, basically, if you want it as bad as you can breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point. Like you do have to want it as bad as you can breathe, and you do have to obsess. And if you have a growth type of mindset, you're constantly putting yourself into positions that you're uncomfortable. Like, I mean, you could have just been in that 1,000 square feet and just made some money and whatever. But
Right,
because you're the type of guy you are, you wanted to grow, you wanted to create something bigger than what you had. You force yourself into those tougher situations. And
right,
that's another thing that, Sean and I talk all the time and with Showtime Homes and kind of the growth of that is every difficulty that we have, whether it's making payroll that is just unreal, at this point, we put ourselves there. We chose to have more employees. We chose to want to grow the business. We chose and we're willing to sacrifice for a couple of years ourselves to continue to grow the business. And to what you're talking about, if somebody out there finds themselves in a spot where they're just like asking themselves like, shit, why me? It's
right.
like, man, you put yourself in whatever situation you're in, you put yourself there,
Right,
right?
right, right. It's a result of your own choices. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a result of your own choices, and that's another thing. Like, I've been able to watch you do the same thing. Like you
Yeah.
weren't. It wasn't Showtime's Homes when I met you.
Yeah. Showtime
So
roofing,
yeah, it
man.
was Showtime Roofing. You
Yeah.
were just beginning. You was broke. I was broke. We were still all trying to
100%.
figure it out. And I said, "Dang, I love this guy's energy, though."
Yeah.
Let's build. And I've been pushing you, and you've been pushing me ever since
Yeah.
since we came across each other.
Yeah. And I can't thank you enough for that, man. It's been a good ride so far. So
Right, right. So like, like I had to develop that fortitude to just keep going in the
yeah.
business. My barbers, my support group was great. Abby was great. Got me through there. And we just kept pushing on. Obviously, we always want to keep growing.
Yeah.
Went through a couple, went through a split with my business partner at the time, which
Yeah.
was Catre Blue. Um,
Sometimes business relationships just you outgrow each other or whatever.
Yeah,
It doesn't ever have to be ugly.
we
It's
were
just
just kind of like going in different in directions,
yeah.
and childhood friend, and sometimes we wanna do stuff with people that we know, and just childhood friends, and sometimes like we're just not on the same page,
Right.
and it also sometimes I think what kind of hurt our relationship or just made us not on the same page is like my energy was one way, his energy was a different way. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a great relationship, but as far as
And I want to make note of that real quick. That doesn't mean that either one is wrong. It's just sometimes you have to come to that realization where, hey, we are going down different roads, and let's not let it get to a point maybe where it becomes so ugly because we're going down different paths. But that's a tough spot.
lesson, I don't think like we communicated it very
Yeah.
well, you know, he felt like things should be going one way.
Right.
I feel like things should be going another way. And it was also a thing where like it was kind of difficult because we had the barbershop together. Then I'm the landlord.
Right.
So it created a little bit of conflict.
Yeah.
But I think it was God's plan. It worked out all for the
Yeah.
great. He was able to start his own barbershop, basically duplicate what we had already done.
Yeah.
I felt like he had been working at another barbershop prior to me for 15 years, before I made him my co-manager. So he learned some
Yeah.
valuable lessons too. And he's a very successful business owner, owns Blades on the Ingersoll and
Yeah.
another bar, Rico's, I believe. But so he's done well
Yeah.
since then too. And we were able to basically at the very beginning it was a rocky split, but like me and a lot of the barbers, we still hang out. A couple of the barbers
Right.
left with him and came back to the shop, so
Yeah.
it's just worked out.
That's one of those things. I mean, in every industry, right? In your guys' world, I mean, in the construction world, guys, maybe they go to a manufacturer rep and then kind of come back to a construction company, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Once you're in a niche, you tend to kind of stay there. But let's pivot a little bit to, so you grow Universal, you guys get into the location you're at now. When did it's one thing to be a business owner and, try to make money, right? Like,
Right.
if we're in business, we're trying to make money, but when did it become more than just making money? And hey, I have some young moldable people that are in my shop. Let's make these relationships more than just I'm getting money off that chair.
So at the very beginning, it was like I said, it was collecting rent. I was being a landlord, which
Yeah.
is my nickname.
Yeah.
And when I went through that split, it was kind of like it was just me and Demarius and Derek Willis.
Swole, right? Is
Swole,
that
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, Swole.
That's who I actually
Um,
got my first cut
yeah,
by in your
yeah,
shop.
Swole. So
Yeah.
it was just us three basically, and here we had 13, 14 chairs and three barbers and we're in 3,000 square feet,
Yeah.
and they're looking for me for leadership and I had to like pivot the way I did things,
Yeah.
because before I hired the very best veteran barbers of the very best, students that there was that had the
Right.
most traction. So with moving forward, I said, well, you know what? I'm just gonna pluck some guys that really want it, that have good energy. They might
Yeah.
not be the best barbers, but who I can help shape their career. And, it was guys like Dion, Tyree, they were new barbers, Eric, they were just graduating school. And I targeted new barbers.
Yeah.
And, Dion went from
We
working
had
at,
to talk about Dion.
yeah,
Electric Factory.
man, I mean, Dion, salute to Dion. He's about to open up the Fade Room here
Yeah.
in August 1st. He's been with me over 5 years. He's opening up his first barbershop right across the street from the fairgrounds. So this guy, Dion, he's like everybody says he's my favorite. So and it's
Like, in the
probably it's
shop?
yeah, it's probably some
Yeah.
truth to it,
Yeah.
because
You guys
Dion
connect well.
Dion Dion was the guy, he was like this 18-year-old kid. I had to talk to before I hired him. I had to talk to his parents. I mean, his mom talked on over 2 hours on the phone,
Yeah.
just about the direction of his life. How her and her husband had raised him.
Yeah.
What type of kid he was, and Dion was the kid that he wasn't very good at cutting hair, but he would call me or he would shoot me a text like 1 a.m. in the morning, like, "Hey, are you up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm up. What's up?" And he's like, "Yo, I was watching this barber video and I was wondering if you can give me some insight on it, or and we would just talk about that type of stuff." And he was like, I would compare it to like Kobe picking Michael Jordan's brain,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the type of hunger he had for barbering, and I know a lot of the other barbershop owners, and there was the other students in the school that everybody other barbershop owners were like targeting, going after. And
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I'm gonna let y'all have them. I'm gonna take this kid over here,
Right.
and so Dion, I sat him right next to me when he graduated barber school, and he probably hated me for the first year, because I
Just
was I,
riding.
wa- I was just riding him. Like,
Yeah.
he said he wanted the basic blueprint to success,
Yeah.
to what I had, what he envisioned I had, um, and like all my friends, like Terry Cook,
Yeah.
who had my one of my mentors and friends, would come in and they would automatically be on Dion too, like
Gravitate towards, yeah.
gravitate towards him because he had
Yeah.
he had great energy, like.
I
And
noticed him very first time I was in the shop. I was like, "Damn, this kid's
Like
getting it."
he Dion, I tell him all the time, like sometimes if he's up, the shop is up. If he
Yep.
comes in down, so I'm like, you got to be mindful of your energy because
There's a lot of pressure to that.
your energy affects everyone in here. You know, like he comes in and he brings it. So like Terry would be all on him, like, are you writing down how many cuts did you do today? How much money did you make this week? Because a lot of barbers don't do that. We don't have any business. It's just show up to work, make the money, spend the money daily, and we have no plan, no aim
Yeah, I
where
go
we're
home with
going.
200 bucks in my pocket. I'm gonna buy a pair of shoes. I'm gonna take my girlfriend out to dinner. I got some money. I'm gonna spend it. Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
and we had come from a culture which I was trying to change because I looked at all the barbershops, nobody was homeowners, all the
yeah,
barbers, and that's one of the things I told Dion. I said, listen, I want everybody in here to be a homeowner.
yeah.
If you're going to work up underneath me, I don't want you just to become a great barber. I want you to be a great father, a great husband, a great entrepreneur, a great person in the community. And that was important to me.
Yeah.
I want to be able to say like, okay, this is my legacy. I helped make a difference in this young man's life.
And by the way, culture wise, like it doesn't have to be race related. Just
Yeah.
if you're poor, you don't have to stay poor,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like
Right.
that mentality of like quit doing poor people things
Right.
to keep yourself in those chains. Like let's break through that, like break through that
I
mold.
mean, for a lot of people, I would say like, yeah, we make poor choices.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I made my 20s. The reason why I was broke is because I made stupid decisions.
we
You know?
buy a car before the house.
Yeah.
We
Right.
buy clothes to impress people that don't even care about us.
Right.
We spend time on social media to impress people that don't really care. You
Yeah.
know, I think that just spending habits, saving habits, budgeting.
So you guys start kind of like Dion. Dion obviously has this. And by the way, for anybody listening too, like you, if you carry a certain energy about yourself, people will respond to it.
Right,
And I think that's so important. Like Dion would have never been found, so to speak, if he
right,
was just meandering through life trying to hope something happens to him.
right,
To
right,
have
right,
that, to send those texts at 1 a.m., to ask like, "Yo, what do you think about this?" To have ideas, to engage, to be energetic is so important because people feed to that. People want to help somebody they feel like is going to go do something with that energy.
right.
You know,
I agree totally. Like, if I see somebody that's giving 120%, but
you're going to pour into
I
them.
want to pour into them.
Yeah,
I want to give him everything I got, anything anybody else I know got. I want to put him in front of people that I know
yeah,
that can help him because it's not only me that can help him. I have a
yeah,
community of people and
yeah,
friends that can help
yeah,
not only me but my peers and the people around me. So that's like you said earlier. I'm a connector. Like what
yeah,
I'm saying, like just you and Terry, or
yeah, 100%.
I'm like, dang, these guys both got great energy. I know they would love to connect. They
Yeah,
have some things in common. Let me
absolutely.
let's golf. Let's get. And
That's what's
I'm a terrible golfer, but I want to get you guys out there and
That's
connect.
what it's about though, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the human factor of it that a lot of times brings us together instead of just the direct business connection.
Right.
At that time, you didn't even know if Terry and I had a potential business connection that could make sense or if we would even be able to help each other, but
Right.
you knew as humans we could.
I wanted to see you guys' energy together.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like,
because it's woo, buddy.
so I mean,
Yeah,
like that's what like with Dion, great energy. I
yeah,
like people with great energy, with ambition. So Dion at that time, I said graduated from barber school, 19 years old. Was working at Taco Bell, making $500 every 2 weeks. And
yeah,
first day in the shop, made $500. He was geeked.
yeah,
Just off his energy.
yeah,
Everybody that was coming into the shop was gravitating towards him. Not saying that every day was like that, but his very
yeah,
first day in the shop, he made $500. Like everybody, all the barbers were loving his energy, putting people in his chair. That was funny because at the very beginning, everybody was like, "Oh, Craig, this kid is on you. He's not very good at cutting hair. Like you're gonna
right.
be the
Like he's
one."
he's pulling the wool over your
Yeah,
eyes a little bit.
you're
Like,
gonna be, and I'm like, yeah, he's not that good, but he's passionate about it.
yeah,
I know that like he's a hard worker, and I believe like if you're a hard worker, you can catch up and match talent. Some guys are naturally talented. Everybody's not naturally talented. I'm not naturally talented at
I
cutting
don't
hair. I
think
had to
I
work
don't
hard.
yeah, I don't think anybody is I think people have natural gifts to a certain extent of certain things, but nobody is just I mean, Tom Brady wasn't naturally going to be the best quarterback of all time.
Hard work,
Hard work,
dedication.
and persistence, consistency, like all those things, they're all cliche. They all sound like bullshit, especially if you're in your 20s, you're trying to figure it out. If you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s trying to figure it out, it doesn't matter, but all of it's true. Let's get a little bit better each and every day. Nobody has the goddamn textbook that just says, here you go, take this. And like, it's not perfect, it's not.
It's one of the reasons I'm fans of guys like Tom Brady.
Yeah, me too. I
And I
love
root
those
for people. I'm
grinders.
like, and I always tell people like, how do you not root for the people that work the hardest and
Right.
get results? You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Like, just
Yeah.
don't show up on talent alone. They work the hardest. We know he works the hardest. We
Yeah.
know Kobe Bryant was working the hardest, and he was
Absolutely.
getting the results. It's a reason.
Lee Trevino, one of the best golfers of all time, won the first U.S. Open. His wife, it took $20 to enter into the tournament, and he was broke as hell. Like he grew up
Right.
being a caddy. He grew up with dirt floor house, and he showed up in country club. Like golf's always been a hard to break through type of sport
Right.
because it's rich people, right?
Yeah.
And typically predominantly white. And he was like, I think he was Texas Mexican, like,
Yeah.
and and his wife like found a way to get the $20 together, sent the money in, and he ends up winning the damn thing. Like,
Right.
but and he was a guy that people rallied around because he had an energy about him on the golf course, but nobody else did. They're all
Yeah.
stiff and straight
Right.
laced,
Right.
and he's out there fist pumping and everything else. And he's this smaller guy, and he's doing something that the common people could adhere to.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, to that point, man, it's cool stuff. So Dion starts finding some traction, and I want to make it clear we're talking about a barber that works in Craig's shop right now. This is a guy that is leaving Craig's shop to do his own thing, create his own business. Craig no longer is going to make money off of Dion's success, and he's this happy for him.
Right.
Like
Right.
that, I want to make sure that everybody understands the person and the situation we're talking about, because not many people have the humility to do that in business, and it's commendable. So Dion starts getting his traction, and when does it start feeling like everybody else kind of is noticing like, hey, this is a thing, and that starts to shift a little bit, like the conversations with Terry and stuff start paying off.
I think Dion moved away from me. Dion moved away from me because he got tired of me drilling him on every
Yeah,
single thing,
like
right?
we got to be on opposite sides of the
And
shop.
he basically moved next to one of the other veteran barbers in the shop, and it was Panda, and I told Panda to kind of just like lean on him too. Like me and Panda have a very special relationship because
Yeah,
too, and I'll touch on that in a second too, but. Panda kind of started mentoring him a little bit too. He took a liking to Panda's mentorship, different style than mine.
yeah,
And he just took what me and Panda had kind of like poured into him, and a few other barbers had poured into him, and I immediately started shifting the way other barbers thought because he started saving his money. He was writing down what he made daily. His habits were different than all the other barbers. He wasn't going out partying on Friday night. He was on time to his appointments. He was cleaning his own station. Like you could tell that he was going to be a shop owner. And then we nicknamed him here. He nicknamed himself the CEO.
I know. Yeah, that's what I meant. He was the CEO.
The
I love that.
CEO,
Yeah,
and it fit him perfectly.
yeah.
So he was just being groomed to be a
And from
CEO,
an
to be a
outsider, you
boss.
could be like, you're not a CEO of anything. Like
Right,
that's
right,
stupid.
right.
Why? Like that's not like you give yourself that name, whatever. But it's the mentality. Like it's
Mindset.
the mindset.
Mindset.
It's if you don't have to fucking be there right now, but if you have the mindset, at least you can get there someday. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be tomorrow, but maybe it's next week, next year, in 10 years. But
It's
if you have,
aim. To me, it's aim.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
the title CEO was his aim.
Yeah.
And if you don't have
So I
aim,
love that.
what are you focusing on?
Yeah.
So that was his mentality. He wanted to be the CEO, and now he's about to be the CEO. He is the
Amen.
CEO.
Yeah.
He's the CEO already behind his own barber chair, and now he's opened up the fade room. He's going to do really well. We're happy for him. He's taking off August 1st, and he's awesome. But leaving, this is the type of character Dion has. He has influenced another one of his friends to be a barber, who's about to graduate barber school. He brings him to me and says, "Hey, I need you to mentor my friend,
That's
just
cool.
like you did me."
Yeah.
And now take in mind, Dion has enough room to add his friend,
Right.
but he wants his friend to go through
Man,
Universal University
I
first.
just got
You
goosebumps.
know what I'm
That's
saying?
cool.
Like
Yeah, like that
he
that's a level again, it's about money. We're in business to make money. I don't want to like twist that, but there's a fucking human level to this stuff that sometimes it's not all about the immediate gain. It's not all about hitting the home runs. Like that's incredibly cool.
So yeah, so when Dion leaves, his one of his best friends takes his place. We get another chance to mentor another young man. Me and my peers, and
I mean, I was just in the shop yesterday. Dion was kind of on my way out. Dion's chair was kind of like the last guy I walked by.
yeah,
Well, to back up, when I walked in, Kelly's sweeping.
yeah.
Immediately like daps me up, and like that's the atmosphere, right? But Dion's on his way out. He could just be in there getting by his last couple weeks, but on the way out, he's like, "Have a
He's
good
not
day,
doing
man."
that.
Like what I
Yesterday,
can't remember exactly what he said, but
Yesterday,
he's
he's walks a guy back there to me, and he says, "Listen, this is my friend Taylor. He lives in Waukee. He's probably not going to always be able to come to the east side for a haircut, so I'm going to give him your scheduling link.
yeah,
So because you're a little bit closer to him,
right,
that's the type of guy Dion is. And that's
yeah,
how we kind of like." And like Dion said, I'm not worried about the haircut, Taylor. Like, you can get your haircut by me or Craig.
yeah,
We've built a relationship, and then
right,
that's a reflection of what
yeah.
I've instilled in Dion. I know that we just focus on the relationships, because I'm not going to be able to cut everybody's hair. He's not going to be able to cut everybody's hair. Kelly's not going to be able to cut everybody's hair.
There's a lot of people in, regardless of what their industry is, that have that that minimal, that scarcity mindset, I guess, is
Right.
what it's often dubbed as. And it's just that everybody is my competitor, and I can't, it's just it's last I think last podcast was actually Andy Ray with American Dream Exteriors. And he's technically a competitor to ours. And
Right.
especially when we first got started in the roofing game and went on a golf trip together, became friends, and have we yin and yang all the time, and it's just, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think if you are in that mindset, then you're not focused enough on what it is that you're trying to do to be great.
I look at it like this, because like me and Rob, who's owns Platinum Cuts, like
Yeah.
we're best of friends now. At the very beginning, it was rocky
Little,
because he had three barbers that left his shop, and that basically looked on the outside looking in. It's looking like I'm taking money from his business, right?
right.
I didn't ask those barbers to come to the shop.
Yeah.
Me and Blue obviously had a 30-year relationship. I wanted to do the business at first with Rob. We couldn't see eye to eye
Right.
on the details, so Blue came with me. Me and Blue had a longer relationship. And I wanted to experience Barber. Two of his barbers made the choice, basically, to come with me. One's back with him.
Right.
So it was rocky at first, right? And then it's again, to me, I align everything that's happened in my life is like, it's God's path, it's God's, thing. So my nephew and his niece ended up having a child together.
Oh my.
So
Yeah.
we're kind of like going to this a baby shower, and I'm like, oh man, here I'm forced to be with Rob. You know what I'm saying? And I know the Rob at the time, he
We're gonna have to let some things slide.
he'll be honestly tell you, like, he despised me, and I
Yeah.
would tell him, and and I was like, listen, those barbers leaving your shop, to come to my shop does not hurt your business, because you basically created opportunity for somebody else. Your chairs
Yeah.
are full, and he's owns three barbershops right now. He's doing really well.
Yeah.
He's, I probably lit a fire up underneath this, but if you ask him, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
But it was like friendly competition, but I told him, after we sat down and talked, I was like, look, we do more together rather than working against each other. Like, there's haircuts born every day at the hospital. We're gonna cut hair. We're both good at cutting hair. That's not the problem. But
Yeah.
so how can we work together? How can we, obviously now our niece and nephew, so we're basically like family. We have to
Yeah.
share some stuff. So we
Well, I mean, when you
started.
break bread together, like, it does kind of force you maybe to sit back and think, hey, maybe there's more to this whole
Yeah, so
deal than
like
just,
we went from like what appeared to be, at the very beginning, like we were like the two best barbershops in town. So like
yeah,
people would go, and they try to create division sometimes,
Oh
or not, or
yeah.
just like, hey, I went up to Universal. They got fish in the floor. What you gonna do down here, Rob? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, that type of
Right.
stuff, and it created that. But then once me and Rob like really sat down,
Yeah.
it's crazy because like we have so much in common, and we were
Right.
able to find common ground with our niece and our nephew having a child. And next thing you know, he invited me, to co do Clash of the Clippers, which is a big barber show here in the Midwest. We
Yeah.
do it every couple of years. He's actually doing it in Kansas City this year, in September. But like we were able to like, he started basically mentoring me. Where I went from somebody he despised and
Yeah.
like what he viewed as a competitor to where we're friends, co-sponsors of an event,
Yeah.
traveling together, where we started traveling together so much that just get education, like doing barber events, doing other barber shows, or
Yeah.
where people would see us together and they would call him Landlord and call me Big Rob. I'm like, no, that's the Big Rob. I'm like, so we're
Well, and
seeing a lot
it's
together.
funny too, like, I mean, to be naive to think that if you're in the same profession, not that it's always true, but more times often than not, you're probably gonna have common ground. Like
Right,
somehow life took you down a path very similar,
right,
and
right,
I
right,
mean, trades dudes. There's so many walks of life that guys get into trades through various things. A business owner that we were on a golf trip with a vendor thing earlier this spring played for the Patriots actually for a
right,
while.
right.
Um, and then who else did he play for? He played for was Pete Carroll a coach for the Patriots a while, like
Pete,
in the late 90s?
yeah, I believe he's
Because I
assistant.
think Parcells was there, and
Parcells,
then
yeah.
Pete was also there at the same time. But anyway, he talked about their different coaching styles. But I'm just saying, an ex NFL player got into the trades world, but we still had things in common.
Yes,
My
yes.
life. Obviously, I was not a tight end in the
Right,
NFL.
right. You weren't?
Yeah, all 5'10" and a half and 150 pounds of me at the time. But yeah, I mean, but you can find common ground, and so often, if you do just take the time to get over those little grudges or whatever, you might be able to find some commonality and help each other find some peace in your life that maybe you didn't have before. So.
Right,
All right, so you talk about having a shop where you're bringing different cultures together. You're bringing different people from all sorts of different backgrounds together. How do you how do you see is there any conflict ever with that? I mean, oftentimes we're sort of told in society that there's all this division and all this stuff, and I'm kind of the mindset I just don't really buy into that whole deal. Like I think there's a lot of created division through news and different things that it does exist in places, don't get me wrong, but just between different cultures, between different people, and I'm not even talking about different races necessarily,
right,
but you know, different people from different backgrounds that may be white that live on the east side versus people that live in the suburbs and are all
right.
uppity and snuffy. And you have all these people come together in one environment. I mean, you know, is there a conflict there, or is it just create an environment where that's all okay? I mean,
Um, I think more so like it's not as much conflict as people think. Like maybe on the surface until we actually force ourselves to be into an environment like a barbershop, and find
yeah,
out that so many of us have so much in common. We have the same ambition, the same desire, the same wants in life. We all kind of want the same thing. We find common ground
right.
where, we can all relate, and we can
Yeah,
all build off of each other and, just add value. I know, like you mentioned my Facebook earlier. Well, that's one of my things. Like, I feel like I want to support, everybody. I want to push everybody
yeah,
to be their best. That's just who I am. That's not like
yeah,
anything fake. That's not like something that,
right.
I know Abby used to get on me like, you're on Facebook a lot. I'm like, yeah, I love to build with people. I love to push other people's thing. Like
Yeah,
it's free, for me to push somebody
it
else,
is.
to give somebody else some energy. Um, and I think people appreciate that, like I'm not just trying to collect rent from barbers. I'm not just trying to cut your hair and take your money. I'm trying to add value. So like if you have a business, I want to support it. If you have a moment in your life, not just a business, I want to support it. I want to
Right.
be happy for you. I want to cheer you on. I don't care if you're running a 5K race or you're just getting back into the gym or
Yeah,
you're coaching your son's football game or you're at your daughter's dance. I want to support my people, root
right.
for people and give people good energy. and show that we have common things in life. That's why I just don't on my Facebook, and I tell a lot of my peers like, you know, you don't need two different pages. Like you can
Yeah.
have one page. Like this is my life. This is who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a family man. I'm a husband. I'm a father of three boys. I'm a business owner. I'm a mentor. I'm a mentee.
Yeah.
I'm all of that. I'm
We're
just like
always learning.
yeah. We're
Yeah.
always learning. So like we have a lot of things in common. Like so let's not just divide or separate ourselves. And that's the beauty I think of just a barbershop.
Tristan O'Neill, I think you know Tristan,
Yeah,
don't you? I
yeah,
think you do.
yep.
So I mean, black man, right? One of my best friends. We were in the truck one day, and I can't even remember the context of the conversation, but I said something that was apparently just like, I don't know if it was naive, ignorant, or what. And
Right,
he just kind of sat back and looked at me. He goes, "Dude, you just really don't see color, do you?"
right,
Like, and he just
right,
kind of gave me
right,
this like he
right,
does this like eyebrow thing or whatever, and I was like, like to say I don't obviously is stupid, but I don't know. My brain just like I'm about the human,
right,
and
right,
it so to me it's just I think so often division just gets created because of this bullshit that we hear all the time. But in reality, if you just get humans in the same room together in an environment like a barbershop, that shit doesn't even exist really.
right, right. And,
I mean,
and
yesterday when I was in there,
yeah.
there was like the whitest of the whitest dude I've ever seen in there with a kid getting cut by Dion, and
you
then
can
like
uh,
it's
you can
everything.
have you can have the guy that sells CDs and cologne on the corner
Yeah,
to the GM of BMW to the CEO of
yeah,
some other company or the musician in there
yeah,
that's struggling to try to make his music work. Just everybody, every
yeah.
slice of the life. Again, um,
No,
and that's
I really wanted to touch on that because I think if there's anything special about a barbershop and in this conversation, obviously we talk specifically about the barbershop because Craig is a landlord, he is a barber, but I think there's so many things to take from that just in everyday life that's so important of it. You don't have to you don't have to follow that mold just because you hear about it all the time. You
right,
can
right,
be, there's the Ted Lasso quote, be curious, not judgmental. I've never even seen the show. I don't know the exact
right,
context where that came from, but just take it the word for word and just follow that. I mean, just
right.
be curious. Like find out who the human is behind whatever they're doing. So
So yeah.
I love that part about the shop.
So moving forward, though, just the shop has just been a blessing. After being in the shop a couple years, at first Abby wanted nothing to do with the shop until
Yeah.
she came and it was like, you know what, I just want to go to beauty school, and
Right.
I want to basically duplicate, some of the things that you have done. I want to find my own lane. She had always been doing ladies' hair, doing her friends' hair in the basement at home or in the
Right.
kitchen at home, and she wanted to quit banking. She was working at Wells Fargo at the time, and I said, "Go for it." She ends up going to beauty school. Was in beauty school about a year and a half. It's 2,100 hours, and we were basically like co-raised in Kingston and living in the same, got married, and everything, and then COVID hit.
Right.
you know, I was in the middle of the build out of Salon Z, had COVID, was one of my biggest scares. But,
Yeah, for
again,
sure.
like community supported me. I was out of work for 3 months, which was very hard.
Yep.
Came back, was able to, with God's plan again, was able to bounce back from that. And Abby's salon has took off. We call it Salon Z, where
Yeah.
she's hired a few girls, and she's been mentoring a few girls that she had went to beauty school with. It's been very successful. And then we ended up last year. We're able to start another barbershop, which we call the headquarters barber lounge, and that's in Ankeny.
Okay.
Um,
Headquarters Barber Lounge. Where can we find that at? Where's that at in
That's in
Ankeny?
Ankeny on White Birch Circle,
Okay.
across from that Hy-Vee and the little lot where there's actually like a donut store, another Mexican restaurant. So it's a pretty
Okay.
good
Yeah.
location, and I have some amazing staff there. Katie Carpenter and Tiani, who just Katie just is starting on there, and Tiani was kind of like working at S&S Citizen Scotch before that.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
managed those, and she was also one of the trainees. She's super amazing barber stylist. She's actually has dual license barber and stylist, so she's kind of the manager over there. It's going pretty well. We're just building over there and trying to kind of like duplicate but separate, the two from Universal and
Yeah.
she's kind of trying to create her own brand. She came to me. I said, maybe you want to just do your own thing rather than just be able. Let's work together.
Right.
Let's find a way. Let's create some opportunity for some people that. So a lot of times, like I look at the female barbers or stylists, and a lot of times they go work for a company, corporate America, where they're only making 15, $16 an hour plus tips. And I was like, I kind of want to create an opportunity for those type of individuals to show them that we want to show them that you can be on your own. You can be an
Let them be
entrepreneur.
more of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
independent
yeah.
contractor
Being
type.
being
Yeah.
more of an independent contractor
Yeah.
and get rewarded for your gift and be able to build relationships. So like sometimes when you work at those corporate places, you can't really develop the relationships, and the corporation doesn't want you to develop the
Right.
relationships. It's
Do it
just
this way.
provide the service, take the money, and they're out your chair.
Yeah.
No real contact. You know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like a reward of being a contractor is you're able to build bridges and relationships that may open up a different opportunities for you, just like mine with Mike Wilderman. Open up a different
Right.
opportunity for me, not just to be a barber, but to own a building. Um, so
Yep.
we did that, and that's kind of like the direction is that we're going with that. We're just kind of just like slowly building that up. Yeah, I'm sure you hear a lot about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, happy to obviously see your success since I've, been fortunate enough to meet you. Happy to call you a friend now. Happy that you came on the podcast, and we just wish you the best, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. So it's likewise.
All right.